our okay, now we're starting. Hi guys, welcome. It is December 2nd. We're starting our minutes at 6:33 for our parent committee for our Indian Educational Program. I am Echo Miller, co-chair. I do Josephine County, and we are here on this beautiful Monday evening, and start us up with a little prayer. Aho Ninukiao Sasamaks, all my relations. Maya says hi. Aho Ninukiao Sasamaks, Amnata Dulagela, Amnata Dulagelo, Subkacha Paka Subkala. The Kacha Patiti Clips, the Kacha Muklux, Moanistenta, Aho, Nanukia Sasamaks. Just saying, welcome all my relations. Welcome to all of our beautiful people and our community and friends. And I love you guys. So, and we'll go ahead and get this started. It looks like we have a guest today, Lisa Borowski, and on our agenda it says that we're doing the blessing. Is the budget and the SE grant presentation? Oh, it is by her. So we're going to go ahead and do introductions for everyone. We'll go ahead and start with JC, and then go on, Teresa, and whoever wants to jump in there next. Does that work?
Yes, thank you. That was a beautiful blessing. I love hearing your indigenous language. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is JC Swick. I'm Lakota Oyate. I'm a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and I'm also a descendant of Standing Rock. And I work for Indian Education as a facilitator in Josephine County, and I'm proud of who I am. Thank you. Teresa.
Can you go outside?
Teresa's having some issues with her internet. Oh, I think she's popping on now.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me with my video on, but I'm Teresa Cisneros. I am Carrizo Come Crudo tribe of Texas, Crane Clan. I'm also a descendant of the Lipan and Mescalero Apaches, and I am also very, very proud of who I am. Randall.
I'm Randall McAllister. I am part of the Karuk tribe out of Northern California. I'm very happy to be here. This has been a blessing for me. Whoever else wants to go.
Take the breath. Yeah. We can just go down the line. Jackie.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name's Jackie. I serve as the treasurer secretary. I'm a member of the Yurok tribe from Northern California with Cherokee and Choctaw descent. I am a super busy hospice provider, and I'm tired, and that's how it is.
Let's see, Angelica.
Hi, my name is Angelica Marbane. Let's see. I'm Ashkenazi Jewish descent and indigenous descent from Central America, Guatemala. And I'm proud of who I am. I am co-chair for Jackson County. I don't know who's next.
Let's jump in there with either Stephanie or Jemiah. Let's do Stephanie and then. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I am Stephanie. I am Hakan Dayani's mom.
They are Nahanku Adana, which is the Kelma for Cow Creek. And they are also Wasco and Grand Ronde. And I am proud to be their mom.
Love that. Jemiah. Jemiah, can you hear us, son? No. Okay.
You can hear me?
Oh, yep, there you are.
Okay. Ayakui, my name is Jemiah. I'm Europe, and I have 4 children. And I'm proud of who I am.
Awesome. And it looks like we have one of our new student board members on. Woo-hoo! Giovannia.
Waglices, hello. I'm Giovanni. I'm the new student representative for SOED for Jackson County. I'm Modoc Koopa, and I'm proud of who I am, and I'm thankful to be here tonight.
Beautiful. Welcome. It's awesome. Yeah, one of our new student members. Thank you for stepping up. We really appreciate you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, amazing. Hopefully we'll get our Josephine County on here
Natalie's
too.
here too.
Awesome. Hi. Let's see. And so we are going to go ahead and turn this over.
Can we let Natalie introduce herself?
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. I didn't see her on there. Hi.
Yeah, I know they're sharing.
I was actually on my phone. I'm sitting over here beating. But I turned it off because we were getting a really strong echo because we have the computer and the phone on. So I can see you guys from where I'm sitting. So I just jumped off so Gio could be there. But hi, everybody. I'm Modoc Koopa, and I am proud of who I am, and I'm glad to be here. It's good to see everyone. I'll be over here if you guys need me.
Awesome. I think that was a beautiful introduction. It's so good to see you all. From here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Trisha and JC and let them introduce our guest speaker and move forward with the agenda. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Echo. Thank you, everyone. So our guest speaker started with our Indian Ed program. She works with all of our focus student groups, Migrant Ed, Indian Ed, SOESD, and English language learners. And her name is Lisi. So Lisi can introduce herself. But basically she is a new manager, and she's working primarily with our grant reporting and our funding. And her and Andrea work together to support many of the programs, but especially ours. So Lisi, take it away.
Wonderful to be here and to see you and get to know more about your program. As JC said, I'm new to the program. I joined the ESD in August, so I'm still in the process of learning, and I just really appreciate all these opportunities to make connections and see the faces and learn the heart. It's one thing to, sometimes you're getting a little frustrated with the bureaucracy and the website of the federal government and all of that. It's really helpful to just remember the heart of the work, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you guys. And I have a little notebook and a pen here, so if questions come up that I don't know the answer to, which is very likely, then I will write them down, and that way I can do some research and make sure that I get all of your questions answered as quickly as I can. I've worked mainly in the English language learner field as a teacher and as a coordinator with the Medford School District. So that was mostly my background. I was at Hedrick Middle School. And most of my interaction with the Indian Ed program has been going around and informing kids at Hedrick about Conway Nicotilikum summer program and encouraging kids to sign up for that and to register and attend that. So, but I'm learning so much more about the culture nights and all of the other activities and events and you know, programs that you offer to people in the community, and I really appreciate all of your efforts. I made a little Google slide presentation for two reasons. One is to keep myself focused and help myself remember, and also to provide a visual, so that I know for me personally, when I'm just hearing auditorily without a visual, it's a little bit more challenging for me. So I'm going to share that with you. But if you have any questions, please just, if you could just unmute yourself and just speak right up, and as questions come through. And as I said, I'm still kind of learning this process of these federal grant funds and the reporting and all of the different steps. But this is what I've been able to make sense of so far. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started. So it's interesting. It was interesting to me that it's called Easy. It hasn't been super easy for me so far, but I'm sure it will over time. But that's the name of the electronic application system for Indian education. And can everybody see did it come through? Okay, great. So that's the name of it. And that's the website where it's found. And I would love to, I know what I was going to do. I was going to pop this in the chat. Here we go. In case anyone wants to look up the presentation for later. So I've put shared my Google slide presentation with you. Okay, so there are 4 main events that happen with the EASY program during the year. And the year, for the purposes of this grant, starts on July 1st and it runs through June 30th. And in mid-October, that was my first entry point into this program, and it was with the annual performance report. And that's where we have to talk about last year and sort of report on last year. And now coming up, the next piece was the registration that we had to do in early December. And I'll go through each of these in more detail, but I just want to kind of give you the sense of the calendar. And then in early March is EASY Part 1, and then early May is EASY Part 2. So those are the 4 main pieces. Well, let's see. I can get, oops, click on it. There we go.
I had a quick question.
Oh, yes,
Sorry
please.
to break your stride, but I was just wondering if this is the first time Indian Education is applying for this grant, or have we received it in previous years?
That's a great question. We have been receiving this. I don't know how long, but I believe it's been at least over a decade from what I remember working with Charlie Bauer when he was directing the program when I first kind of came to Medford about 16 years ago. I believe it went back that far. JC or Teresa, do either of you know when we started with the grant?
So
Yeah,
Teresa's, oh, go ahead, Teresa.
Oh, are you sure, JC?
You.
You guys will learn that JC makes me laugh no matter what. As soon as I see her, I get the giggles. But yeah, the EASY grant has been coming through SOESD for a lot of years. So before I came in, of course, we had Candina Jackson, she's the person who started Native Games. And then before Candina was Tamara Henderson. And Tamara Henderson is now the president of OIEA, and she's also one of the big directors at NAIA. And then before that was, oh, what's his name? Natalie, what was his name that did it at the very, when it first started? Do you remember?
I know who you're talking about, and I can't quite remember his name either.
Is it Jeff Painter?
Jeff. Yes, 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 Jeff. I was thinking Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff Painter.
Jeff Pinner.
Yeah, and
Yes. Oh, Giovanni to the
it was
rescue.
Jeff Painter before that. And then there was a big break in between Jeff Painter and when it was coming through. So the folks that started the what is it, the Indian Center, Nick Hall, what's their name of the organization?
Southern Oregon Indian Center.
Yeah. My brain, oh my gosh. So the Southern Oregon Indian Center, those folks, they were parents, and they were the ones that were running Indian Ed, and then there was a big break until Jeff Painter came. So that's the history. So it's been going on for a long time, but this has been the longest sustaining time that Indian Ed has been able to develop programming and had this much growth. So that's cool.
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. That was a great question. So yeah, and I realize now I didn't put in the slide presentation, but just to clarify, the Indian Education Program, it's a federal program coming out of the federal government. And it used to be under Title VII, and now it's under Title VI. But so all of our interactions with Indian Ed officially goes through the federal government. So that's why when there's kind of that bureaucracy layer to it, that's where it's coming from, is kind of from that federal government standpoint. So in the fall, we reflect on the previous year and we do an annual performance report for the previous year. And that's where we look at the objectives that we had set for ourselves during the previous year and evaluate our progress. And so we say if we think we met the objective, we almost met it, or we did not meet it. And with each of those objectives, we have to back up our claim. So if we say that we met the objective, one of the ways we prove that is by indicating the number of people that have been served through that program. And we have to kind of report it and organize it in two different ways. One is asking the question, who was served? And these are the 4 categories of people served that are included in the EASY report. So we ask how many students received services toward that objective, other family members, teachers, and then other school staff. So they kind of separate out teachers specifically, as well as other school staff. And then also in terms of which objective. So I might say a specific objective, we served 35 students and 9 family members. Or if it's a training for teachers, we might say we served 11 teachers and 5 other school staff or something of that nature. So that's kind of how we have to report our progress on those objectives. So that's the October piece. And then in December, we finally get to the actual easy one. They claim it's easy, but this is the only one I have found to be easy so far. This is just a time for us to update our contacts for the new year. So if there are so for example, my name needed to get added to it, or if there's a change of staffing, so that they know who to include and who's responsible for completing the process. So that one's a pretty simple one. In March, we get into Easy Part 1, and this is where we have to select a time frame for our program objectives. So they let you decide if you want to just have your objectives focus on just 1 year, or if you want to have like a more long range goal setting where your objectives are going to take you 2, 3, or 4 years to complete. Historically, what I have seen is that the SOESD's program's objectives have been in a single year. We've taken it 1 year at a time. And I think that does provide for a little more flexibility so that you're not locked into things, because things change and finances change. And so having a new cycle each year does give us some flexibility in that way. The most important thing with Easy Part 1 is that we have to submit our Indian student count. So we can choose any time frame as a 31 calendar day time frame where we are going to count up how many students we have in the Indian Ed program. And then that's what our next year funding is going to be based on. So generally it makes more sense to wait longer so that you can get more of the 506 forms completed and submitted, and you can get more students in your student count. And so we will take that number of kids and we'll send that in our Easy Part 1. And then we also have to upload some supporting eligibility documentation, including the consortium agreements signed by the superintendent. So all of the school districts who are a part of our Indian Education Consortium, they sign an agreement basically stating that they agree to kind of participate in and support the program and be partners with us in that program.
I had a question about the student count. I'm just wondering what our process has been to verify, like, we know who shows up to events, to verify that all of those people that have shown up to events have filled out their forms.
JC or Teresa, do either of you, I know you have way more background on how that has worked in the past, so I would defer to you and I'm happy to jump in whenever needed on that question.
Yeah, so Teresa and I have access to like the database, with all the names listed. So we know whether they're a student or not. A lot of times we'll have older children with a form and the younger ones have not yet completed a form. So that happens. And we just work with the families on supporting them. Certainly the whole family is invited, whether they, have a form or not, because that older student is in our program. So we just really work hard with the family, keep reminding them and support them in any way we can to get forms for all students listed. But basically, as soon as we get the student in our program, Teresa and I review those 506 forms, and then we add them to our parent square. So if they're in our parent square, they're a student with that form. So they're finding out about our events through Parent Square, everything like that. Teresa and I personally welcome each new family that we get, and we provide our contact information, a welcome letter, and we share that intake form as well. So really they don't know about events. If they follow us on Facebook and stuff, a lot of times we don't really share everything on there. So yeah, there's never really anyone that's showing up at a culture night that Teresa and I haven't personally reached out to, talked to, and invited. Or if they do, then we're immediately like, oh, who are you? Who's your kid? What's that? Just to protect the student privacy, but also these are federal dollars and they have a purpose. So, that's why it's not open to the public, events type stuff.
And the other side of that is that we, like Lisi and Andrea, will connect with all of the school districts that we serve in Jackson and Josephine County, and they send out a request for all of the students that have self-identified as American Indian Alaska Native on their registration form, and we receive that list. And then once we receive that list, we do a big mail out, and that happens twice a year. And this year, and I don't know if Lisi's going to go into this. I'm sorry if I'm taking over, Lisi, but you can just go over it again.
You go right ahead. You go right ahead.
But because of the tribal consultation requirement that ODE has set down for all of the school districts, we had double the students because they learned that they have to capture that information on their data sets when they go into their programs. And so we got double the forms to send out. So Indian Ed is likely to be growing quite a lot this year.
And it's only for K through 12, correct?
Yes. We would love to expand for sure eventually, but yeah, it's K through 12. And also previously, so the data sets did change, but previously if they were multiracial, then it wouldn't necessarily flag the, Indigenous, Native American, American Indian box. So we've noticed that our self-identifying numbers have almost doubled at our schools. And so, yeah, we expect to grow hopefully from that. But those all went out first week of November. And basically anybody that flagged Native American, whether you're already in our program or not, you got a letter, and that's totally fine.
And I did try to remove the students who were already in our database as being in the Indian Ed program. We did try to remove them from the mailing, but it is, as JC's saying, it's possible that there might have been some overlap, and there might have been some people who received a form who have already sent in a form. But we figured it's better to get too many forms than not enough out. We
Yes.
want to make sure everyone who possibly could need one received one. So
Yeah. Or it could be a multiple student household, and we have that older child in our program, but we never got forms on the younger. So that could be possible too.
absolutely.
Goal is to include preschool age, because that is on the Title VI website, to include services for preschool, but we just haven't had the capacity to do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So that covers Easy Part 1 in March. In May, we have Easy Part 2, and Easy Part 2 is much more complex. So I had to put that on 2 different slides. So the first part of Easy Part 2, we need to answer a few questions. One is to let them know if we are coordinating our Indian Ed program with any other federal aid programs. We have not done that in the past. It hasn't really made sense to do so because those other federal aid programs are more at the district level, and so it makes it a little bit tricky. So we've that hasn't been a really a relevant a strategy for our setting of being like a multi-county widespread area. We do need to indicate what professional development will be provided for school staff. So that's where we can talk about our, Indian Ed 101, and we can talk about our tribal history, shared history trainings that we offer. And we have to describe how American Indian Alaska Native state assessment data is shared. And that is where we would have school districts looking at their state assessment data. So like the math and English language arts assessments that students take at school. And we disaggregate that data to look at specific focal groups to make sure that that districts are not just paying attention to their overall numbers, but they're looking at their American Indian Alaska Native students specifically to see how they are doing and make sure that if there are gaps in their performance, that those are addressed through services and removing opportunity gaps for them. So we want to make sure that districts are getting that information, and we have to share how we're sharing that data. And then there's the public hearing requirement, and that is where the information is brought to you, to the CPC, and you are able to look at the budget, discuss it and the program so that you can understand and give recommendations. And so in the Easy Part 2, we have to give the date for when that happens. So at this point, I could say that like today's date would be where we are giving you information, but then if you want to at another time have your own discussions and also have that, then that would also be part of that public hearing requirement. And then in addition to that, we get into the tribal consultation. So we have to describe a little bit our tribal consultation process. So we already on September 11th had the first part of our tribal consultation with the districts where we discussed other federal programs. So that includes things like Title 1A, which focuses on alleviating impacts of poverty. We have Title III, which talks about English learners, and we have migrant education and some other federal programs that are brought in under the tribal consultation in the fall. And then in the spring, we have a date that's scheduled for February 18th for the tribal consultation on what's called integrated guidance programs. And these are different other funding programs that come from the state. So the fall one really talks about the federal programs, and then the spring one talks about the state programs. And we've been in contact with tribes in order to organize that and get that set up. Teresa, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know that when I first started in the position, I was also signing Indian Ed families up for the migrant program because of how the way that we harvest, well, if it's like we went and did rose hips. If there was a family who was going to harvest and had to be away for more than 3 days from home, they would qualify for the migrant program. And that's the same for fishing. That's the same for any kind of, what is that? Sustenance, any kind of sustenance living. We qualify, but because of capacity and how big the job grew, we decided that I wouldn't be doing that piece anymore, but there's nothing that says that we can't.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. So, and we do have migrant education coordinators in our department, or recruiters. So if there is a family that feels that they may qualify, then our recruiters can connect with them, and with, I'm sure probably with the support of JC and Teresa, that we, we can still look into that and see if families qualify for that, because there are additional services that come from being a migrant ed family. It looks like, Natalie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. When you guys are talking about gathering, does that include hunting and fishing as well?
It does, yes. Hunting
Okay.
and fishing and any kind of harvesting, that we do. If you are away from your home for more than, I think it's 3 days, is that still the same, Lisi?
I think so. But I also think that the children have to be going with. So it has to be also the children, because it has to do with that displacement from their school. They have to cross district lines so that they're temporarily living in a different location outside of their normal school district for that
What I'm
3-day window.
specifically talking about is when we hunt and fish, we do teach our children how to hunt and fish. We also take them to gather wokus and huckleberries and like the state parks. We have some over here, but we go home for that. And it usually is a weekend event. If we go down to California, it's usually a weekend event to gather. So that's why I'm asking. And we used to get a paper sent home from SOED asking about our traditional foods and our traditional resources, but I don't know if I've seen one lately.
No, that's when the job got too big. Before JC came, that's when we stopped, because I couldn't handle doing that and Indian Ed and all the programs. But I am wondering, because we do have the migrant staff, I know that they would love to work with us and getting us signed up. So, that maybe that's something that we can put in our newsletter and get. I know that the migrant program is changing quite a lot, and it's been a few years since I've really understood the requirements to qualify for it. But I know that we do have a lot of families that qualify.
Thank you, guys. And I just made myself a note so that I can go back to our migrant ed staff and we can get some more clarification. And I'm like you're saying, Teresa, we do have a migrant ed staff. And if this is migrant ed recruitment, I think that we should, that would be their responsibility to do the heavy lifting on that, so that you don't have to do that, but you could be a connecting person for them to get connected to the migrant ed recruiters, who would then go ahead and, do the interviews and find out if it qualifies or not. So I think we can pick up that load a little bit from you. All right. Well, thank you so much for asking that. I really appreciate that. So continuing with our easy part 2, in addition to the tribal consultation, we have to upload our Indian Parent Committee approval form. So that's where there would be a form where you as a CPC would formalize your approval of the program plan. And this is where we have to describe our program's objectives. So we choose the objectives we're going to focus on for next year, and I'll show you what those objectives could be, the different grade levels on which we're focusing for those objectives, and the services that we plan to provide to meet those objectives. And here, again, the objectives are pretty long, so this is half of them. I've got them on 2 slides. We want to increase certain things like school readiness, their academic achievement, knowledge of cultural identity and awareness. We want to enhance their problem solving and cognitive skills and directly support them to attain those state standards in school. We want to increase their attendance rate. We want to decrease dropout rates. We want to increase graduation rates and career readiness skills and college enrollment. And we want to increase prevention activities for violence, suicide, and substance abuse. We want to increase parent participation and Native American language instruction programs. And we want to increase support for at-risk students. So these are the different objectives that we have to choose from. And we can have many, we can have all. One piece that I would encourage us to think about as we're choosing objectives is that each of our objectives that we choose officially in the easy form, we then have to measure in the APR the following fall. So we have to have numbers, we have to have data, we have to have things that we can share and say, yes, we were actively pursuing these. So, you know, if we can certainly include all of them, or we can include certain ones that we really want to focus on, knowing that we are going to be doing things to address all of them. But it's up to you guys to decide which, you know, as a group, which objectives do you really want us to collect data on? And you may have noticed a connection between when I talked about the 4 groups of people, the students, the family, the teacher, and the school staff, that matches kind of what we ask for on sign-in sheets for culture nights and other activities. And that's the reason why, is because we are required to provide that information. So we need to know who is receiving the services toward all of these objectives. And then some additional information, we have to include our budget. So in the easy part 2, they tell us what next year's funding amount is. So if you'll recall, in March, we give them our student counts, and then they use that student count in order to figure out what our budget is. So the $71,452 that I've indicated there, that's the amount that we were told that we get this year. And they kind of give it in 2 parts. Like they give us a sort of a, I guess, tentative, or, you know, this is sort of what they think in the spring. And then they give us a final amount in the fall. At this point, I don't really know what the difference is or why it changes. I don't know if JC or Teresa know that, but that's one of the things I'm still learning, is what's the difference between the spring number and the fall number. But do you know anything about that?
Can you repeat that whole thing again? Sorry, I was doing
Yeah,
that.
sure. No, that's okay. I was just saying that in the spring, they give us an allocation amount. They say, like, here's how much you're going to get next fall. And then in the fall, then they send us an official grant amount, which might be slightly different, but I don't really understand, unless that has to do with any like if they're doing quality control, like if they're double checking on some of the 506 forms to make sure that they.
That's exactly what it is. So
Okay.
they take the time, like basically it's a promise, oh, this many students. But Teresa and I don't contact tribes. And so they then are verifying yes, yes, yes. Or if that child's missing information, our account's going down.
Okay. Thank you. That does make sense. So, and then we have to say what we want to spend that money on. And I've listed the different categories that they allow us to choose from. So those are the categories they allow us to choose from. And then there's this thing called indirect costs, which I just kind of learned about in the context of this new job that I'm doing. And basically that is the percentage that is set aside in order to cover costs that the ESD incurs for facilitating the grant. So that includes like my time to try to coordinate those mailings or help with the database. It pays for our business department to process purchases. So like when we have to buy supplies and materials for the traditional crafts, then all of that has to go through our business office. So it's kind of like an amount that covers a lot of those internal expenses for running the program. So I guess last year's total allocation was 85,000. Personnel was 70,000. Travel was 4,000. Supplies were 7,000. And then we had our indirect costs. So you can see that was a little bit higher. One piece to keep in mind is that the amount that's set aside in total by the federal government changes from year to year. So you never really know exactly how much you're going to get. So it can go up and down just depending on what the government gives for that particular fund that year. But it's not a large grant. In the grand scheme of things, it's very small, and we're hoping that it will get larger as we get more 506 forms completed. But we do have to make decisions about how we want to spend the money and the budget and our objectives much earlier than May, because even though that's when we officially tell them, that's when like most of the school year has already gone by. So the time to make decisions about the objectives, it really is now, so that you guys can think about, what do we want to focus on in our culture nights. I will tell you, just to be very transparent, that $70,000 that we have, that covers a part of one Indian Ed facilitator. So we have been using other funds such as what was called ESSER funds, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. That was for post-pandemic. And we received those for a number of years. And that's what we were able to use in order to fund the second Indian Ed facilitator position, as well as the supplies and materials for all of the culture nights, the food for culture nights, everything. And so those funds are now gone. And we tried, JC and Teresa, when they had a big job ahead, that they were up against, trying to stock up on supplies and materials, trying to plan culture nights and what things that they would need. So they have stocked up on a lot of supplies and materials using the last of our ESSER funds. But now, in order to pay for those other expenses around culture nights and all of that, we really have to get creative. And I know JC and Teresa have been working really hard to apply for other grants and get donations and sponsorships from local community organizations and businesses. And I'm trying to get some funds from my church. And so that's looking promising. So I'll have to let you know, they're on it. They're presenting it to the council and all that. So we're hoping that we can, put together enough funds to be able to continue providing the same services, the same level of activities and programs for people in the Indian Ed program. But the federal funds that we get are so minimal that they really just pay for part of one Indian Ed facilitator, and that's really it. So I just go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Have we ever received the Ford Family Foundation community grants?
But that is something that we can apply for.
And I will say that in the past, I don't know when it switched or how it switched, but Indian Ed was not allowed to apply for grants. It was something because of, I don't know, ESD had some weird policy in that we weren't allowed to do that. That didn't change until 2 years ago, I think. And so I have a list of grants. I have one that's has a deadline up, or I'm starting the grant process right now with it. So.
Okay.
But now that we can apply, it was just a rule that we weren't allowed to before.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's interesting how, to me, how circumstances change rules, right? Like when I first came to Oregon, you had to have a teaching license in order to be a substitute. And I remember asking, how do you even have enough substitutes if that's the requirement? And they were like, oh yeah, we do. There's a lot of retirees that do it. And I said, well, I don't know how long that's going to last. Well, now times have changed, right? The pandemic came, and now the requirements to be a substitute are very different. So it's funny how just, you know, when circumstances change and we're losing all of these ESSER funds. And so maybe there's been a change of thought around, you know, if there are grants out there, why would we not want to apply for them? That didn't make it much sense to me, but I'm glad to hear that it's changed at least. So are there any other, that's pretty much all I have to share around the EASY grant. Are there any other questions or concerns or anything that we can talk about or look into?
I have a clarifying question. The objectives that you listed, are those the options that the EASY gives you, or is that something that you and Andrea created?
Thank you. That's a great question. These are the ones that are provided by EASY. So this is their list.
Awesome, thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Lacey. And I learned a ton, honestly, just going through that. And then also I was like so humbled by how busy Teresa and I always are, but it's like, yeah, we're doing that. Oh yeah. So, I mean, it totally makes sense. You know,
You're busy ladies.
You know, the journey we've been on, you know, in the desert, stranded for 3 days, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's why that objective, we got it.
Absolutely.
But also, we need to be able to capture the data. So if this is our objective list, I know currently I'm not tracking students once they graduate out of our program. I don't know if they're attending college, but we certainly do want to include all those things. So that'll be something for an upcoming meeting to really sit down and unpack, and, you know, what we can actually capture, and then what we can also rely on the schools to provide. You know, because we don't want it to be a detriment to them and our relationship with supporting one another either. So thank you so much, Lacey. You're welcome to stay, or you can pop off. I know you got a lot going on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm at my sister's house right now because I have to come up to Portland for my husband has medical procedures he has to have up here. So I'll probably save you guys any chaos that might happen with the dog or the cats or any of the other chaos that might intrude onto your meeting.
Totally. Well,
but
thank you so much. This was so helpful, and you're welcome anytime too.
Well, thank you.
Anytime you need something from the council, or you just have some fun updates to share, first Monday. So
real good. Well, I'm hoping that I'll have an update to tell you that I found you money. So
hey, we love
hopefully that'll be happening in the next month or so. So
awesome.
I'll plan on that.
You can even call me on the phone, you know.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do that too, but I want to share it with the whole
That'd
committee
be great.
here.
We'd love to have you. Well, thanks, Lacey.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye,
care.
you guys all take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Sure.
All right, that was awesome. So I learned a ton, and then I'm just going to scroll back up to the agenda. So next on the list is our new student leaders. I did get a text from Josephine County. Her name is Cheyenne Martin, and she's super busy. She's involved with a lot. She's a working CNA, and she is a senior in high school. And she's been working as a CNA, I believe this is her second year now.
Yeah.
She's involved with so much at school. She's also really heavily involved with their Native American Student Union and has been leading them since it started 3 years ago. And we've always kind of leaned on Cheyenne. So she's Clay and Tina's daughter. And she's also a Conaway Nicotilikum alum. So she's fantastic. It's wonderful to have her. She's just a little rock star out there, and she attends Grants Pass. So hopefully next month we can get Cheyenne. And then we also have Giovanni. And Giovanni, it's up to you if you want to share anything. You got the floor. Give us that student perspective. He's a young elder.
Young elder. Yeah, I'm a senior, guys. Give me a discount at IHOP or something. I don't know. I'm not. Nothing comes to mind right now on what to share. The programs at school have been going good, and of course, this is our month, so it's really nice. Or last month was our month, and I'm just happy like to do this.
Woo! It's wonderful to have you. And I think Teresa and I shared this before, but we're the only Indian Ed program that also has student leaders. So for one, it's super empowering to our students, but also that's why we're doing this. This whole program, it's about the students' experiences in schools. So it's good to hear that, and the feedback really drives us. So thank you so much, Giovanni, for being here. So the next update is All Care. So Quinn Arrington, he is the Director of Equity at All Care, and he is the tribal liaison. And he works with Teresa and I to coordinate our culture nights at Josephine County. We also provide a lot for direct support to All Care with anything that they need, and it's a really beautiful partnership. So they approached us about 3 months ago or so. And
yeah, I think it was 3 months.
yeah, we applied for sponsorship, and it sounds like we're going to receive it for next year. And they want to fully fund all of our culture nights for Josephine County. So it will be Grants Pass, and they also want to include adding on another culture night to take place in Cave Junction, because the need's so high in the Illinois Valley. So I will not be here next year. The grant really ends this year. We got another year out of it. So we'll figure that out, but there is a culture night definitely happening. They're providing sponsorship of $10,000. And so that will cover the meals, activities, everything for culture night. We broke it down, and yeah, so that's huge, to get that many from All Care. And then Teresa's also working with another sponsorship, if you want to share about that.
Which one?
Coalition for
Coalición Fortaleza. Yeah, I'm the chair
you
of
say it so much prettier than me. Yeah.
that organization was started as a result of the fires that happened here in Jackson County, and I'm the chair of that organization. And we have been able to get over $1 million in funding, and have been able to put almost $900,000 back into the community, like money into people's hands, which has been really great. But we have a portion of that money that is specifically for programs like this. And so I'm working with them to hopefully sponsor. They've had a lot of big things come up, and so every time we plan to have a board meeting to decide on funding Indian Ed, it gets we haven't had a board meeting in a while, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm hoping to do that within the next couple of months, is get some kind of funding. So they had thought about sponsoring our meals for a whole year or something like that. We've also, UNETE has also offered to sponsor one culture night meal, which is always super helpful as well. And we have other organizations and folks. So if you all know of anyone who is willing to sponsor us for like a culture night, I've been saying, the average is around $400 to $500 to get a nice meal for everyone. So yeah. And then I'll just go on to the Ashland Food Co-op. I have no idea how much money they were able to make just yet. So I just messaged them today, and they said once they get that number that they'll send it to me, and they'll likely send us a check. It's not going to be gonna come in form in food boxes. So if you all feel like we want to use that money to do some holiday boxes for Indian Ed families, we can certainly do that, but it's up to you all how we spend that money.
Well, we need to vote on it today because this is our only meeting, right, before the holidays.
Well, we can do a special meeting, or this is something that we can do over email and do a vote over email too. But we can't really vote on it until we know how much is there.
Okay.
Oh. Are there any questions? Ooh.
No, I think next I had to step away for a second, so I missed what was just said, but did you go over the holiday or the Ashland Food Co-op?
Yeah, I did. I just
Okay,
said
great.
that we that I don't know how much they were able to make for us. And I messaged them today and they said they didn't have the number just yet, but they would let me know. But they'll likely
Wonderful.
just send a check. And it won't be in the form of actual food. We'll have to decide, the CPC will decide if they want to do food boxes with that money or what they want to do with it. But
Well,
we
that's a
can't
wonderful
decide.
donation.
Yeah.
And Teresa and I were talking about doing a video thank you at the holiday gathering, as well as like a big thank you card. We'll also have to provide one to All Care, so that'd be really fun. To get all the kiddos to say thanks, or if they say thank you in their native language, whatever they want to do. So that would be super cute to share with them. And then the holiday event Saturday. Does anyone have any questions about that? Everyone excited?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I know, I'm hoping Brent wears a Santa costume.
We
will
can
be
do a
good,
fancy
yeah.
outfit, all Christmas out.
I think this is our third year now doing it in a
Yeah.
row, and it's
Yeah.
it's fun. We have different activity stations. There's a master weaver who's gonna bring her stuff and do a little demonstration. It sounds like STEAM wants to come and have a little demonstration table for kids to play and explore. And then we're gonna be making a lot of different holiday gifts, ornaments, and we're gonna have lunch. So it should be a wonderful time.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. That's all we had, unless anyone has something they want to share while we're still all together.
I have a question for Jemiah. Jemiah, how do you want me to set up for tomorrow? What do you need?
She had mentioned having different supplies for the younger kids, such as different colored yarn.
Or
So
like
that
maybe like I was gonna pick up some like plastic string. I don't know, you know those string that you kind of like make lanyards at summer camp or something. It's
Oh yeah.
kind of like the same pliability as bear grass, so I figured that would be better for the kids. I wasn't able to pick up enough just with all the commotion of my dad's funeral and everything. I forgot to get the bear grass from Hoopa, but I do have a limited amount of it, so I will be able to let some people do with the bear grass, but I would prefer the kids do with maybe string or something.
Yeah.
And then
I have some I can bring.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Great.
Yeah, I don't really need any setting up. Really though. I just have to soak the bear grass prior to, but that doesn't take very long. because we don't want
Okay.
to soak it too long, otherwise it will get moldy.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to say
Um,
thank you so much
I
for
know.
doing this and stepping up. And I know that you're grieving and you know, I hate to get like super emotional, but in Lakota we call that walking. And so you are at your most spiritual power when you're in your grief because you're closest to the spirit world. And so I just want to say thank you and that we are really honored to have you at all, but especially in this time while you're mourning. So thank you. And we just hope to receive you in such a good way. And anything you need from us, just let us know. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I just want everybody to come in a good way too. That's
Yeah.
kind of leave everything at the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I love Northwest Coastal Regalia. It's absolutely my favorite out of all the regalia I've ever seen. And I'm just excited to see it and learn more about it. And I've been wanting to learn personally how to bear grass braid for a long time. So I'm excited just to be there, you know, and just learn those things myself. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
Samaya, do you need
tomorrow
sticks?
and Thursday.
Did you say if I have sticks or, oh yeah, sticks.
Do you
I
need
do
any
have,
sticks?
I do have some.
Okay,
I
I've
mean,
got some cocktail sticks I can bring.
yeah,
I
you
think
can
I
always
have
bring
some too.
extra.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jemiah. I'm super excited about this. I love bear grass braiding and I haven't done it in so long. I forgot, I think.